Nico's talk. This is our first artist talk, so it's taken a few months to get organized enough to have one. And luckily we have someone who's going to have a very interesting talk, I have no doubt, because she gave me a little mini version and I went to look at the completed work a couple weeks before the opening of the show. So, so it's very interesting.
Thank you so much. And Michael kind of prompted the whole exhibition because I really could combine what's most important to me in life. I think it's both culture and nature, and somehow I could just put it on another level. Music is down. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I was raising my hand because I was wanting the music to stop.
There it is.
Okay.
I got to hear over the music.
Oh yeah, I got it off now.
Thank you.
Kind of forgot that part. All right,
Thank
it's
you.
all yours.
Okay. So since there are just a few people, I can be a little bit more formal. I wanted to talk about my background, where I came from, so people have a wider understanding who I am and what I struggle with, and what's important to me. So I can start with my grandparents who grew up during the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which ended with the First World War, if you know. So that was a long time ago, so I'm very old. And they are a generation which was very resilient. I wanted to tell you a couple of stories. One was my grandfather was asked from a farm to go and serve in the army during World War II. And they were outside of my hometown. And they had to meet by a cornfield. So my grandmother, barefoot, huge woman, went with 5 children to the cornfield and said to the sergeant, well, you know, my husband couldn't come, but I'm here with the 5 kids to serve. And we can go to the front. And the sergeant just laughed and sent her home. And my grandfather was never court-martialed. So this kind of generation I'm from. And the other story about the same maternal grandfather, that there was a collective, farm collective after World War II in Hungary and in East Europe, if you know the history. So very rich farmers had to give up their land and some of the animals because they were just so rich and nobody else could produce food for themselves. So my grandfather was also part of this process, and on his farm a young truck driver arrived and told my grandfather, now you hop in the truck and I will take you to the new collective director and then you have to talk to him. And my grandfather said, no. I hop on my motorcycle and I go to the collective's office and talk to the director. So he did so, and he went into the new director's office and said, you were a thug before and during the war, and you're a thug now. That's why you're a director. And you're not going to take away my farm. And he went home. So I come from this kind of stuff. So because there was so much struggle afterward, but the post-war was very hard for all European countries, but especially the Eastern European countries. So many US Americans do not understand how much struggle there was to rebuild the country. And I just want to put the record straight that there was lots of chaos, lots of corruption, lots of loss, and so I grew up with that kind of inheritance and that kind of atmosphere, and it really put a stamp on my psyche. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a secondary trauma. And so my grandparents and my parents' behavior and their generation's behavior was totally altered because of all of these hardships during World War II. And I can truly understand the struggle of the socialist leaders how to put everything in order to build the country. I mean, it was just not easy. And so I have ambiguous feelings how I grew up. Lots of positive. I got great education. healthcare. They saved my life twice in my first year in Hungary. I almost died twice in my first year. They saved my life for free. Okay, and I could dance. I learned how to dance for free. I traveled all over the world on the government's dime as a dancer. I traveled with my parents. I had access to books. I could buy my own books. I had free access to libraries. So I feel that I was very, very privileged and well prepared for life. And because I traveled, I really have this cultivated curiosity about other people. And because of my travels and also that I could be in dance groups, I got out of my toxic environment at home and also from the country. And that really helped me to kind of survive psychologically. It's very hard to explain, but I think when you physically distance yourself from toxic environment where they micromanage you, micromanage your life, micromanage your career, your behavior, it's really nice to just step out of that environment and go somewhere else and then see how other people live and then learn that what you would like to adopt from other cultures, what you reject, and I think that was fabulous. I mean, looking back, it was incredible, and then I had to become a professional early on because I performed from age 9 on. So you had to prepare for your performance. There was nobody who held your hands, and we went to other countries and all over Hungary. You had to prepare everything for yourself, and you had to be ready as a professional, even in pre-teen years. So I owe so much to these experiences that the country and the cultural leaders enabled me to do that. So that's very positive. But all said, it was a self-dictatorship. And what I can tell you that it's very humiliating when you feel that you don't have the control of your life. And you had to, the bureaucracy really was there to humiliate you. Parents and teachers were to humiliate you and kind of restrict you, because that was the whole, the essence of the whole society. I don't know how to describe it to you. So it was a breath of fresh air to come to the US, and you guys are so loose, whatever, in many parts of the US, and you can sit on the floor, and I was in culture shock. So, and when I came here, I actually can thank Fulton's that I came here, because Wayne was a Fulbright scholar, and he invited me to come here in the US. So I distanced myself from my past and family and whatever was negative forever. I mean, I spent most of my adulthood here in the US. And I'm really grateful for that. So, so that's the positive aspect of where I come from. But that's why I'm so concerned the new political happenings in the US today. Because I see some of the restrictions I've grown up, and some of the humiliations and physical threats sometimes, and to me it triggers something, you know. And so I'm telling people all of these not because to feel sorry for me, but I think you can understand that I have a past in this night. I can tell you that you have to stop it as soon as possible, because if it gets out of hand, it's really hard to reverse. So, so I would like to talk about how my work changed. So how the new artwork fits into my story. I was always trying to find some kind of healing, and I used the human body as a metaphor for the state of the human body to express identity or healing from the soul, healing your body. I mean, that was my thing for many, many years because I'm a dancer. And then I discovered mushrooms. I was trained as a sculptor, so I love shapes. I love to sculpt. I mean, I paint, but sculpture is really close to my heart. And so I studied many kinds of mushrooms, and especially the free flow mushrooms were very close to me. And then I discovered that they are essential to our survival. They are fungi, mushrooms, myceliums are essential because they cleanse the environment, they recycle, they reuse. Mycelium have the innate knowledge, how to heal a whole forest, a tree, where to cleanse the water. Mushrooms are very nutritious. If you have PTSD, depression, they can help you. Toxic environments can be actually cleaned up through some mushrooms. And also now there are some companies which build hard objects from mushrooms. So you don't have to use plastic. I mean, it's endless, the positive impact on our environment and on our future, and I think it's not emphasized enough. So I became mushroom fungi crazy. After that, I'm just reading all these books about mushrooms because I've been looking for something in my life where we can reverse some of the damages, some of the loss, and not just for me, but I think for societies and also for the earth. So I just found it in fungi and mushrooms. It's just incredible. And there are some experts who actually have proven that this is a possibility for the future. And so I think new generations will talk about that. I thought we humans could adopt these ways to live for a more sustainable future, even if we drift anywhere like mushroom spores by chance. We could always adjust to our environment, whether it is our transforming environment or a new environment we ended up in. So, because Michael kind of poked me and nodded me toward this exhibition, I finally realized that I equally respect nature and culture. I mean, that's what comes through my artwork, that they are equally present in my work. And in my old age, that's kind of where I am at, where I just don't think that we should dominate nature, especially as Western societies have been dominating nature and using nature. I think we have to find some kind of balance. So thus I ran a parallel with my existential question, how I can be a positive force in my community, society, but also thrive as an individual. And because I can afford to do so. At this stage in my life, I really want to be a positive force, and healthy societies in culture and anthropology are the ones where the community or the society needs are equal to the individual's needs. And in the US, I see that individuals' needs and wants are more emphasized. And to me, especially as a European, Eastern European, this is unhealthy. And that's my observation, and I think that's why the US has some economic and other problems, because individuality is really kind of trumps society's needs in many, many cases, in my experience. In my artwork, especially the last 10 years, I try to balance out what's universal and what's personal. And maybe I didn't succeed everywhere, but that's my major goal, kind of balance out what can be universal understood, but lots of personal images and references are in my work, especially like in language, references to folk culture, some photographs from my past, from the socialist era, about my journey as a Westerner and Eastern European, between East and West. I mean, I process all of that in my work. And I'm at this point, I would like to compensate for all the hurt and losses and damage in societies and also done to individuals. And at least in my work, I can throw these ideas out. So to me, it's more like a process where I go through a process in my studio, and that's something private. When I put it out there, that's a different process. When people react to it, don't react to it, reject it, ignore it, whatever, however they discuss it, that's another process. And although I make artworks, I'm not object-oriented. So I grew up as a dancer with musicians, I'm process-oriented. So just imagine dance is not really an object, it's not tangible. Or if you say it's tangible, but dance is process itself. Music is a process itself. So that's how I was trained, and that's how I think. I love objects, but I think they are just conduits to start another process when they are out of my studio, and then people can take it or leave it. It's not really about me anymore, and I think that's very important that I can let them go because it's somebody else's process, not my process. The same thing with dance and music, that it's very private when you play music or when you dance, you cannot feel what I feel. It's a personal experience, and it's different when you look at a dancer. It's a different experience for you. But it's all these processes out there. And what I love about, especially dance and music, that often you cannot, it's not an object you can buy. You know, it's not a pure commodity. And that's what appeals to me. I grew up in a society where we didn't really buy much. That's how it was. My father made lots of money. He was a workaholic. But I grew up, like, as I said, with my grandparents who were very frugal on the farm. They recycled everything, and it really stayed with me. So we were not really spoiled as children. I hardly had anything. Mostly what I needed in Hungary, at very basics. I am very grateful for that because I haven't changed much. And I think that's one of the positive aspects of socialism and coming from a farming family, that you just don't want to hoard stuff. So that's very important to me. You know, when you are in a diaspora, you think a lot about your identity. I don't know if you have lived somewhere, I'm sure you lived somewhere for a while, or went even different parts of the US and you felt out of sort, like, you know, you didn't belong. I'm sure you had experiences. So it was very hard for me to come here because I knew mostly about the history of the US, but I didn't really know about the cultures and subcultures. So I felt out of sorts, and I adjusted very well. But now I feel that I kind of don't belong anywhere. I have a floating identity. I don't know how to explain this. It's a floating identity. I'm just floating, you know. Go to Hungary, to Hungarian-speaking areas. I've been to Japan a lot, exhibited there. But now it's just like, I settled down in Spokane, but somehow it's a different kind of attachment. And I don't know how to explain to you. It's not that I reject Spokane, but my soul and body has been in so many places everywhere, and I'm kind of torn. So that's how it feels right now. But through this exhibition, I wanted to say that I embrace life, renewal, protection, nurturing, prevention as my identity. So I wouldn't say that I'm a Hungarian American, but I really want to be someone who talks about healing and puts the ideas out of it, healing, and doing good for other people. I want that to be my identity. So I can always raise these issues through my artwork, or through my talks, or through or volunteering for the folk dance movement in Hungary. Whatever I do, I want to have this positive impact where people can really heal, and you heal through dance. Dance saved me. Hungarian folk dance saved me. Musicians saved me, saved my life. That visual art. And so I'm totally dedicated to shamelessly promoting folk dance, because I think that's one of the cheapest and best ways to put an individual in a community and have them to develop a healthy relationship. I truly highly recommend it. I mean, it's just, I don't see any easier way to put an individual in a community and thrive. And I really feel that I should emphasize that all of us should have solidarity with each other and nature. I mean, at this point in 2025, in this interconnected global world, I mean, there's no other way to go forward. And I don't know all the answers, but I think I try to reference these ideas in my work with art, folklore references, language references to my past, mycelium, mushrooms, freedom, and all these ideas are there, and they are equally, I'm trying to put them out in these artworks equally, so nature and culture are kind of side by side. I don't have to talk much more because, but this is more or less who I am and where I am right now. So if you have questions, yeah.
So I came here to look at the show last week, right before Friday. And one of the things that's really distinctive about the show is the color, right? So there's these hot greens and these very intense reds. I thought it was interesting as you're talking through all that, you didn't talk about the color at all. And I'm curious about the origin of the color and if that has a specific meaning.
Oh, yes.
And they're also very, what do you want to call that? Like opposite on the color wheel, right? So you have this red and this green, and there's a lot of tension.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk about that?
Totally. You just said it. But so when I was a folk dancer in Hungary, we had to embroider our folk dresses, and until you bleed and you don't feel your fingers. So whole outfits and very thick embroidery. So you could go on stage and you wear that because there was just no money to do that. So I grew up with these colors and shapes. You see some of the references to embroidery here or in Magna Carta and behind Karen too. So these colors and these embroideries are kind of my comfort zone. I don't know what your comfort zone is. This is my comfort zone, and I always use these colors. And yes, the tension was done on purpose. Yeah, definitely. So there are two sides to the exhibition, and I just cannot really switch to any other colors. For example, that blue in Magna Carta, it's a culture reference nobody would know here. But that blue is the color of the houses in Transylvania, in Hungarian regions. And when the Turkish occupation was, when the Turks came, they saw that blue on the house, they knew that the Turks were not welcome. Okay? And Transylvania had more rights, I think, than the Greater Hungary during the Turkish Ottoman occupation, but also there are some kind of codes in my culture and also in the embroidery, what it means, that kind of embroidery shape or those colors. It brings about your status, family status, your wealth, your age, whether you're a widow or unmarried or married. I mean, I can go on and on. So I grew up with that. But this is an immense richness to me, and I love that intensity. Also, I think, Karen, you have been to Transylvania.
Yes.
So when you go into homes, they have very colored walls, and I think I didn't use the wall prints, but they have these rollers, and they do prints on the wall. So you have a light colored wall, and then it's a darker color, you make patterns. And sometimes on the porch wall too. I mean, it's just beautiful, it's gaudy, you know, it's just overdone, yeah. So, too much for outsiders. And so that love of color, and then there are regions in Hungary, even in Hungary proper, when men have more embroidered outfits than women in their villages. I mean, somebody would say, like, the Pope would be jealous, I don't know. You know, it's just from top to bottom. The apron, the shirt, the vest, all the ribbons, just beautifully embroidered. So I grew up with that, and it just stayed with me. But thank you for asking, because it's very important to me. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah.
When you were a child, before you got into the political dance, where you got to travel around the world, was dance in your community as a small child part of your, or is that something that sort of happened to you in a political way?
Ooh. So when the Hungarian folk dance movement started, you have to know about the soft dictatorship, that leaders were very reluctant to allow intellectuals to come together and start a new movement, a new organization without oversight. So in '72, there were some musicians and dancers who started this folk dance movement within the cities. But these are folk dances in the villages and farms, which were collected earlier in film and videos. So you had to have a permission for the culture minister to start this movement. So it was a big deal. I don't know, you are not used to this, but it was a big deal that the culture minister said, okay, you can gather together and play music and dance, and we'll give you different rooms or organizations where you can gather, and then we'll see about your funds. And that's how it grew. It was a big deal. It was a big deal. And I know that it sounds weird to you, but that's how it was. And it grew into something much bigger. For me, getting out of my home, go and see the world, learning how to be professional, and it was for free. It was all free. So I'm just very, very grateful for that. I mean, I got a lot from my culture. Anything else? Yeah.
You have references to the Magna Carta in several of the works here. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So I'm kind of resentful how we were restricted politically in Hungary, and then how I always felt that I was afraid of politicians and policemen. And I came here, I still had that fear. You know, I started to sweat. And so personal rights were not big. And Magna Carta is a reference to, I think, 13th century British law that without cause, your person cannot be searched or your home cannot be searched. And I think it was not upheld in Hungary. So to me, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I put it out in different works because I think I want to bring it into conversations right now in the US, what it would mean to you right now in 2025 with all the political happenings, no matter where you stand, whether you can consider that your future rights might be in danger. And so that's why I've been putting this out there, and that's very important to me. Yeah, it's very humiliating. When I came here, I had no idea how restricted we were, personally and politically. I mean, you just don't know, because you cannot compare, contrast. So I'm also telling you, don't feel sorry for me, but I'm telling you that you perk up your ears and really pay attention what's going on right now in the U.S. Yeah.
How long ago, Ildiko, did you start to see our slide toward fascism in the United States?
Oh, I don't know.
It's always been here. It really has.
I think, but I can say that I think step by step, when you take away some laws and then you overstep boundaries, especially politically, and it's not resisted, and then everything erodes. I cannot put a timeline on it, but that's what I say, that when you don't have resistance, or you, like in Hungary, there was never a history of true democracy, you don't know what to build on after World War II. And it was really hard, amid the chaos, to build a society which was more just, because you just had to rebuild the infrastructure and then normalize life. But right now the US, in my opinion, has no excuse. On the US soil, there's no war. You have no excuse to create this kind of chaos you see on the streets, because you have no war on US soil right now. We and Hungary and most of Europe came out of war, and there was lots of chaos and corruption. And I'm not excusing it, but there was a reason why some of the European countries didn't become very stable. It's an immense problem. So I don't know when, but I often didn't feel comfortable with some of the issues here, like a president could just have someone killed, even a US citizen. I mean, that's how I grew up. People disappeared. People disappeared. And they had kangaroo trials. I mean, this is heavy stuff. And once it starts, then it's really hard to step back, because then there are precedents. So that's my experience.
So you talk about the mushrooms,
Yes.
and they're in some of the artworks, and then there's probably some abstract shapes that are mushrooms that I'm not recognizing as mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Are you growing mushrooms? Are you cultivating them in some way? Or are you just using them as an image?
I'm using them as an image, and there are lots of mycelium images where you wouldn't even know they look smudges, but actually there are tons of mycelium images, huge variety, and I use them on the surfaces. But I had so much, loss and negativity in my life, and even in my previous life, that mushrooms really and fungi just elevate me. I feel just so happy when I talk about them, or read about them, or I can sculpt them, or to me it's almost like, I'm not religious, but to me it's like, it's really giving me a little hope that there's a real direction we could go toward, especially younger people, to rebuild the earth, do some renewal, some cleaning up. I'm really optimistic about this, and this is based on science. I mean, just incredible stuff. And I encourage you to read about it. It's not a fairy tale, it's just fantastic. So that's why I've been doing this, because it would help, ecologically it would be immense help. Yeah.
So do you eat them?
Oh yeah, my mushroom soup. You have to come on. My mushroom soup is the best. Since I was very young, I've been making my mushroom soup. So I love mushrooms. Yeah. Yeah.
So much. And,
Yeah.
we will have a chance to talk, the two of us. But my daughter was born in the Czech Republic. I lived there for 3 years, and it creates this connection between me and my daughter and Ildiko. Because she's she's so proud of that, even though she doesn't remember it, she's so proud of that connection to Eastern Europe and the art. The art and this is also a connection to Cuba. Like the what you were talking about in terms of the honoring of art and athleticism and they, but you were used as propaganda. The artists, the athletes, in Eastern Europe and Cuba was very similar. You know, they really encouraged the arts and athletics.
But not all of us were used for propaganda.
No, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
but that was sort of a, you know, more this sort of the Soviet influence was we're going to, you know, take these young people and nurture them, nurture them in arts and athleticism, and we're going to dominate the world. So instead of it being like a spreading of love and connection and compassion, it was, in some respects, I mean, obviously, so wonderful, right? Like to be able to escape that oppression in the arts, whether it's dance or music or athleticism or, you know, visual arts. But I do see that juxtaposition between like it being such a ticket to freedom or a passage to freedom, but
so there were people who did commissions for Lenin and Marx statues, okay, and workers' statues, okay. So that's fine. So they got big commissions, and then there were artists who did more traditional work, like early 20th century work, especially with the human body and nature scenes and all that. So just following the tradition, because I think in Eastern Europe, unlike in the US, you were not encouraged to explore your own identity, personal identity. You see, through the arts. I mean, we had great skills in all the arts, across the board, great skills. You know, knew all kinds of materials, but there was, the system was kind of given that you were restricted how far you could go artistically. And the artists now, we were just in Canada, Wayne and I, and we just saw there was a Hungarian exhibition. Artists from the 70s who are now very old, they did in secret all this political artwork, and now it's in Canada, Vancouver, Canada. But it was like in the closet, and you know they got old, and now it's out there. And again, it's very humiliating when you have to do that. But on the other hand, I think, especially in dance, no matter what dance you do or what music you play, it frees you. You know, it just frees you. It's good for your brain. It really healed my brain, my body. I had severe PTSD, depression, and I wouldn't be here right now physically without dance. And so I think there's a very positive side. And I love musicians. I love musicians. They are the most fun in the world. So to me, I don't know. I think, I mean, as I said, like the socialist Hungary, the positive side, there were lots of rewards, but then all these restrictions. I can give you an example because there are some artists here. So I met online an artist who's much older than me, and he was in an art college in the 70s in Hungary, okay? And the system was so controlled that his dean found out that he had an independent exhibition as a student in Budapest. He was invited by one of the galleries to show his own artwork, like he independently made. The dean wrote him a letter. He posted it on Facebook on an art page, and the dean said, never ever have a solo exhibition, any exhibition without my permission. Because because I will kick you out of art college.
In what year?
1970, 72
Wow.
or something, 73.
Wow.
So I'm just telling you that there was just so much need
Yeah.
for this self-expression, and also we couldn't discuss how to say that, political opinions freely, openly. So I think in the kitchen there could be, or in your room could be just at the most 6 people by law, if you wanted to discuss a political situation. You know, I mean, they just set these arbitrary rules, so there wouldn't be a movement, or you wouldn't, you know, invite the neighbors over to discuss what was going on or what your feelings were about it. So I'm just throwing out these examples that might not sound a big deal to you, but looking back, it's really, really eerie. So.
Do you remember when Nureyev and Baryshnikov defected and came to the U.S.? Were you?
I just read about it. I was.
You were too.
Yeah.
Well, their dance, you know, of course, they were such
Mm-hmm.
masters. They added so much to the Western dance scene.
Absolutely.
And I just love watching those guys
Yeah.
dance.
And so that's
But they were part of
that's
the
so
show.
nice that you said that. So that's why I really would like to exhibit more outside of the U.S. because I want to see how people react to my work, what I'm doing right now, or in my adult life. So I can see a reaction. What kind of reaction? It doesn't matter. From another culture. And that's how I grow. And I think it really helped them also to understand what treasures they were, because they were not isolated anymore.
Right.
And I think it's very important for all artists, no matter writers or what you do, to present your work somewhere else, because it really puts everything in context. So, for example, the Hungarian folk dance movement started because some dancers went to Romania, Transylvania, and when they saw the dances and heard the folk music, they said to the peasants who were isolated in their village, totally isolated, that, oh my God, what you have here is a treasure, you guys are brilliant. So without context and comparison, they had no idea what they had. And that became part of the Hungarian folklore movement. Yeah, so I'm talking too much.
No, not
So
at
was
all.
the Hungarian folklore movement a movement sponsored by the government, or was it a thing in reaction to the government, or both?
It was sponsored by the government, but it started because there was a psychological need for discovering folk music and folk dance. And we had Bartók and Kodály who collected music over 100 years ago. So we had some material already and also old films of dance and music. But then there was this spontaneous revival, and again the culture minister said, okay, go ahead, you can gather and play music and dance, and that was that. And it didn't really become political. It was just for joy, and I think the government understood that if they allow this kind of outlet, they're like steam off, then the people won't start another revolution like in '56. I think that was one of the strategies. And we enjoyed ourselves. I mean, it was just a blast.
Because it is rebellion. It's a cultural, it's not political, but it's culturally like this is your being. This is who you are, and it's in a sense it's a.
But I think partially the government also used some of especially the bigger formal groups for how to say that. Political bragging on the international
Well, that's what I was
scene.
talking about, the propaganda, right?
But-
Music,
but
like you can say,
no
oh, this
matter
is what.
what,
Yeah, it still benefits.
It's just incredible. And then, like, I studied sculpture and I still love clay. I just love clay. I mean, I touch clay and I'm just so happy. I don't know how to describe it after all these years. And so to me, it was really beneficial to do art and dance. I cannot really emphasize it enough. And then I ended up here and I learned so much from Americans, and I can do whatever I want to do here. And see how other people live. I mean, just enrich my life. I don't even know what I would have done if I stayed in Hungary right now, you know. I just don't know where I would be. Yeah.
So I'm really taken with these sculptural pieces over here, in particular the shadows that they, but the titles don't seem to match. The
Yeah,
freedom of
so
the
in
figure.
Hungarian it's függőség. Függőség means that you depend on what hangs you,
Oh,
what you hang from.
they seem so free, so
Yeah,
to
but
me,
they are kind of
it's my
restricted.
orientation
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
that, so.
But at the same time, they are pretty much restricted in one pose. There are all kinds of metaphors to me,
Yeah.
but that's what I like with this dialogue,
Yeah.
where you come from and where I come from, and that's how I learn from people.
Sure.
And
And look at the shadows, isn't that?
yeah, lots of drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of drama.
Yeah. I mean, they have their own, they actually kind of change the figure
Yep.
from each thing.
And these are folk ribbons, so this is kind of attachment to folk culture. I mean, that's one of my references there. And there's also socialist spin on one of them. And then I combine a lot with socialist spins with ribbons in my artwork, because those kind of dominated my life.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to ask or curious about? But thank you so much, everybody that listening to me, and I really appreciate that you came. Thank you.